let me actually, yeah.
Share the
Share the
screen
screen.
first. Yeah.
Let me know. Let me know whenever you can see it. But I can't even see it.
There it is.
All right, cool. All right, can I get some love now?
Yeah, I will give you some love. I did some research on this pick, and I'm kind of a little disappointed I let him slip through my fingers and let him last as long as he did. And sure enough, he ended up being your third running back on the damn team. So go figure that out. But he's still quality number one, number two back. Like you won't have. I think a team that you have, team 5 is going to be like finishing second or first for sure in this league if this was our actual league. Joe Mixon, that was a solid pick. You got him in the 4th round after already getting Saquon and Derrick Henry, who were solid picks. You got Lamar, you got your quarterback. Instead of following the sheep and now I got to get a wide receiver. Now you went best available at that point. And you took Joe Mixon. A lot of people, until you dive into his stats, you really don't know how good of a back Joe Mixon really is. Like you think about it, you think of him as kind of an older back. He's been around a while. He's actually only 27 years old, so he's not as old as people think. And then you think of him as more of a touchdown back. Like, yeah, he gets some good runs and stuff, gets some good running yardage and gets the touchdowns, but he actually catches out of the backfield more than any running back out there. He's a dual threat a lot better than a lot of other running backs out there. So I think Mixon is going to have another solid season. The offense is pretty much the same. It's just another season, another year in that same system. They don't have P. Ryan anymore. I don't really see too much competition on their depth chart, if I'm not mistaken. Just double check real quick. I'm pretty sure it was Chase Brown who was his backup. So he doesn't have a lot of competition that he's going to have to worry about. It's not like it's always good to have one of those running backs that's not in a dual threat. You don't have to worry about is he going to get enough carries this game? Is he going to get enough that game? No, he's their back. So kudos to you on that pick. That's a pick I wish I had taken a little earlier. Looking back at it, yeah, maybe I should have taken him instead of Kenneth Walker. Najee Harris I took before him. That's up in the air for me. That one be hit or miss for sure, but I think it was definitely solid where you got him.
Najee Harris should definitely be. You should have taken Joe Mixon ahead of Najee Harris, 100%. 100%.
I'd be okay with that. I think Mixon's probably going to have a better year than Najee Harris. Najee Harris is under the radar. Don't get me wrong. I like Harris. We'll talk about him later too. But where you got Mixon in the 4th round, he's still a top. He should be drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round for sure. That's just my opinion. I took Stevenson a little bit high, but obviously we're both pretty high on Stevenson. Not a lot of running backs went after that. ETN's still a good back, but even then, I would be okay with you taking Mixon before him. But instead of like I said, following the sheep and going wide receiver at that point, because you can go Olave, Debo, DK, but those are more like 2nd-tier receivers in fantasy. But you're getting a 1st-tier running back to add to your flex spot and maybe traded later on in the season. It gives you some options, and you still got 2 top-tier wide receivers that we'll talk about in my next segment. So yeah, kudos to you on the Mixon pick for sure. That was solid. You landed them good. I'm mad that I let him get to you that way.
Yeah, no. So this was an interesting team. Like normally I hate drafting in the middle of the draft. 5, 6 is my least favorite spot to draft in because you're normally stuck with middle of the, like, what do I do? Do I get middle of the best or top of the next? Like, I don't know what I should choose because it's too early to grab this guy, but like maybe this person doesn't make sense. But whatever. So what I started with this team is I took Saquon because I believe in that. And then when it snaked back around, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this my zero wide receiver draft team. And I was going to draft Derrick Henry. Now, that being said, I had every intention of going either wide receiver 3rd or 4th round. Because zero wide receiver is a little bit different than zero running back. Like zero running back, you could probably wait longer. Zero wide receiver, you might want to jump on that bandwagon. But then like once quarterbacks started going, like once you took Allen, I was like, shit, I got to take Burrow. And then I didn't know where you were going to go from here. So I was like, shit, I better take. I like Lamar Jackson over Jalen Hurts this year because I think I love Jalen Hurts, the player, better. I think Jalen Hurts is a way better passer than he gets credit for. I think he's a phenomenal leader. He's a tremendous runner. But fantasy wise, they have a much harder schedule this year. Um, I'm not gonna like. I think he can come close to duplicating his success from last year, but I think it's going to be more difficult for him to do so. That's why I went with Lamar Jackson here. And then when the snake came back around, I was like, oh shit! I was like, I could really double down on my running back heavy team, and I can go Joe Mixon here. And I did for the reasons that you said. It's like what my options are. Do I take the next best tight end available, which is Kittle, which is a clear Kittle, Waller, whatever you want to call it, still a clear step below Kelsey and Andrews, I would argue. Or do I go wide receiver? And you can go Olave, but Michael Thomas is coming back. Debo, I don't know. You got Ayuk. You got Kittle there. You got McCaffrey, DK. I don't know, like DJ Moore. I love. Um, but I was like, you know what? I have a chance to get a top tier running back here. So it's an unconventional strategy. But if your draft unfolds this way or something similar, do it. Like Jeff mentioned, maybe he took Rashad Stevenson high. And also as he mentioned, I'm a huge fan, or not Rashad Stevenson. His first name. Yeah,
Yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson. I'm a huge fan of him. So let's say he took Mixon here instead of Stevenson. I would still take Stevenson here over any wide receivers that were available.
Yeah. I'd be
Uh,
praising you for Stevenson at that point. Yeah.
yeah. So like if your draft unfolds this way or anything similar, like feel comfortable going, three running backs in your top four if you have the chance to get any combination of Barkley, Henry, Stevenson, Mixon. I would throw Pollard in there. Um, I think that's like if Mixon was taken, if he would have taken Mixon, I don't know if I would have taken Najee Harris here. I would have taken Pollard here. I would not have taken Brees Hall here. Um, but I would have taken Stevenson. I would have taken Pollard. I would have taken ATN if he was still here. So if your draft unfolds that way, double down on it, triple down on it, I should say, and go running back heavy. Because like Jeff said, worst case scenario, you've got some tremendous trade bait later on.
Yeah. I'm mad too because I took Devontae Smith right before it, and I should have taken Mixon there. I made that mistake. I should have taken Mixon there because looking at it, instead of taking Gibbs as my second back on that team, I could have got Mixon, and then instead of Devontae Smith, I could have got Drake London, who I like just as much as Devontae Smith. Honestly, I love Drake London. I think he's a good receiver. So I made a mistake on that one. I believe. Yeah. So that there was some ideas. I wanted to keep receiver on that team, but no. But kudos to you, man. Mixon falling that far, you got to steal the draft on that one.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. Yes, Smith was close to making my hate list, but it's an interesting thing. It is interesting.
Jalen Hurts is on my hate list too. By the way, I know you were praising him as a great leader and everything, but Jalen Hurts is hot trash. I just want to make that clear to everybody.
What?
Not a fan of him. I've been
In
a fan
real
of
life
Hurts
fantasy,
since
or
Oklahoma.
did he steal your girlfriend or something? Like, in what
No,
world
no,
is Jalen Hurts
no.
trash?
He lost his job at Alabama. He got demolished at Oklahoma when he was in a championship in the Final Four. I'm not a big Hurts fan. Personally, I think a big part of his game is that offense. I think a lot of quarterbacks can get away with anything in that offense. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, so underrated. I love Goddard. You had Miles Sanders. Probably the top three offensive line in all of NFL. No, like you can't really fail that much in that offense. So honestly, yeah, congratulations, Hurts. You're gonna get a payday. Not worth it. You don't deserve it. That's neither
Oh
here nor
my!
there. Anyway,
I could
does
like
not deserve it.
this isn't even fantasy related, but I couldn't disagree more. So well, there are points I do agree with. Like he is in a stacked offense, but like AJ Brown wanted to go there because of him. Like Jalen Hurts tried to recruit AJ Brown to
He got
Bama.
traded.
And yeah, but he wanted to go there because like he had to sign off on the trade because he had to sign off because as soon as he got traded, Philly signed him to an extension. Like so he had to sign off on it. And then like I get the college sitch, but that's college. Like that's done and over with. Like it is interesting that he got benched in the national championship game for Tua. They came back and won that game, and Tua was light years better than Jalen Hurts at that point in time. Um,
Still is.
now I think Tua's trash, and Jalen Hurts is better than Tua. But like,
No.
dude,
No.
the things that Jalen Hurts does as a runner, because what I like about Jalen Hurts is when he and like I'm probably a little bit
And
biased
like
because
when
I'm
he
close.
fumbles touchdowns away in Super Bowls, that runner.
Yeah, what more do you want? Like, but
No.
so I get to watch a lot of Jalen Hurts because I'm in South Philly or I'm in South Jersey, which is right across the river from Philly. So all his games are on TV for me, and what I
Solid.
like most about him is when I watch him, like he never, unless it's designed to run, like he's not like a Lamar Jackson who looks at his first progression and then takes off running. Like you can see Jalen Hurts go through his progressions and then it's like, nah, I'm just gonna run it now. But he looks to pass first and then run, and then he's just such a
Are
good
you
runner.
sure? Are you sure he's looking at all three progressions and not just taking a really long time on that first progression because he doesn't know how to read defenses? Because that's what it could be. I'm just letting you know that he doesn't know how to read defenses all that well. That's
Jalen
okay.
Hurts is my dude. I will stand by that guy. But anyway,
Give
moving
me
on.
give me Gardner Minshew any day of the week. Just saying.
Well,
Just
that's an
throwing it
interesting
out
point. I
there.
mean, when Minshew stepped in, he had a really good game. They did they beat the Cowboys or they almost beat the Cowboys? I can't remember. Um, but it
They
wasn't
beat
it
them.
wasn't Minshew's fault. Um,
I'm pretty sure they beat them because he celebrated it with his dad after the game, if I remember correctly.
yeah. So
Pretty sure they won that game.
Hurts does have a lot going for him. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, arguably the best wide receiver duo in the league. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying you could argue it. It's probably top three
Dallas
at
and
first.
Dallas Goddard. Goddard's
Yeah.
a top tight end in the league that people do not rate well at all. I love Goddard personally. I think he's top five for sure. Maybe not fantasy top five, but in the league, like as a tight end in general, I think he's top five. So no, that
Well,
offense is stacked.
the most savage move about that Goddard move is that obviously nothing can be confirmed, but they only took him because Dallas was going to take him. And they drafted, I think, one or two spots ahead of Dallas because they had Zach Ertz when they drafted Dallas Goddard, and this was like 3 years ago. So it's not like Zach Ertz was declining, and you normally don't draft a tight end 3 years in advance like you might a quarterback, So they only took him because Dallas was going to take him, and
Yeah,
and they
that
took him.
division does that a lot.
Yeah, savage move. But anyway,
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
no, appreciate the love on Mixon. I'm gonna kick it over to a pick I hate for yours, and I'm very interested to hear your perspective on drafting this walking trash can. Christian Watson. So I hate this pick. There's just so much there's just so much wrong here. Like you got a guy, Christian Watson, that with Aaron Rodgers, he only had 41 catches for 611 yards. With Aaron Rodgers. Now he's
Okay.
going from, huh? Like, now he's going from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. Like, there's a clear gap there. Like, Jordan Love, maybe he's great, maybe he's not. I don't know. But even Aaron Rodgers in his first year starting struggled. And there was questions on if Aaron Rodgers was going to be the guy that he is now in his first year. I think they had a losing record his first year as a starter. That might have been 7-9. So Jordan Love, like a lot of questions marks around him. And again, like this has got 41 catches, 611 yards with Aaron Rodgers. They still have Romeo Dobbs there, who was the more highly coveted recruit coming out of college. So he's competing for touches with Romeo Dobbs. And this is just going to be a run first offense. Like Mike LaFleur is probably one of the most, or Matt LaFleur, whichever LaFleur is over there. Um,
Not Peter.
yeah, is probably one of the most conservative coaches in the league. In my opinion, like he comes from, a running offense and a running background. Like last year, they ran it 43% of the time, which was, top half of the league. They're a more run heavy team, and that's with Aaron Rodgers. And you have two great backs in in the backfield there. So like they're gonna run the ball a lot. They're not gonna throw.
Great's debatable, just so you know, too.
Well, it's
not bad. It's not great. And that offensive line is okay. They're not really a run blocking team, but okay.
They are absolutely a run blocking team. Like that's what Green Bay's known for, is always having a solid offensive line. And could you give me 5 backfields that you would rather have? I mean, I'll start with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, because Zach Charbonnet is going to overtake Kenneth Walker. But what 5 running backs would you rather have than Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon?
As a pair?
Yeah.
Let's go. Hold on.
Current pairs.
I take Penny and Swift personally.
That's
I take that.
So 2 running backs that always get hurt. Okay, that's solid.
I thought we weren't going off of injuries, David.
Well, this is real life now. We're going off of injuries, current injuries in the draft. So you want 2 running backs that can't stay healthy. Okay.
Christian McCaffrey and Eli Mitchell. That's a solid one. I would take that one for sure. Bijan and Tyler Algier. I'd take that one for sure.
Stop it. You don't even know what you're going to get out of Bijan. Bijan's currently number 3 on the depth chart. And I know you don't believe Bijan Taylor. I know you don't believe that.
Even if it was Bijan, I'd take Algier and Cordell Patterson over that tandem. That's just
you're out of your mind.
You could bring Zeke back to Dallas. I'll take Pollard and Zeke, and I'll still be okay with that. No, I'm sorry. Aaron Jones is going to fall off eventually, and AJ Dillon's is one buffet away from being out of the league, Eddie Lacy style. So, but anyway, okay. So
I disagree.
Hating on my Christian Watson pick. So first off,
I'm not done.
Oh, continue, please.
So again, where are we at with Christian Watson? So let's see, where'd you draft him? oh, sorry, I have to scroll up. My fault. I thought this would have been low.
In the 6th round.
I thought that. Yeah, I know. That's why I'm surprised. I didn't realize
the end of the 6th round. So pretty much a 7th round pick.
I didn't realize he was so high. I was looking bottom of the draft. Sorry, I didn't.
And you think Chris Godwin's a better pick?
Absolutely. He's a number 1 wide receiver.
And what team?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It says it right here.
Over Mike Evans.
Yeah. When it comes to receptions, look it up. When it comes to,
and you believe in that quarterback over Jordan Love?
I believe in anybody over.
Do you even know who the quarterback's going to be for Tampa? Does Tampa know who their quarterback's going to be right now?
Yeah, it's going to be Baker Mayfield or the legend Kyler Trask.
Come on, man. You can't honestly believe that. You can't look me square in the face and tell me you think Chris Godwin's better than Christian Watson.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Not with that
Chris Godwin, let me hit you with it. Chris Godwin had 104 catches last year for over 1,000 yards. And that's coming. It doesn't matter. Like Chris Watt, okay. Is Aaron Rodgers a Hall of Fame quarterback?
Yeah.
Okay. Watson had. It doesn't get along
with rookies. That was what he was known for.
Let me repeat. Watson had 41 catches for 611 yards with Aaron Rodgers.
What was the knock when they drafted Christian Watson? What was the one thing they said about Aaron Rodgers?
The knock on Christian Watson when they drafted Christian Watson is that Christian Watson is not good.
No, that's not the knock. The knock is I can't believe they didn't go out and get help for Aaron Rodgers, and they drafted someone because they knew Aaron Rodgers does not get along with rookie wide receivers. They never pan out well.
He's at Knicks games with Garrett Wilson and all these young wide receivers in New York.
In his history, any rookie wide receiver that was ever drafted for Aaron Rodgers did not do well. Period. That was it. That's how it panned out. That was the story for it. I'm telling you, Christian Watson paired up with Jordan Love. Now that they're building chemistry together, Jordan Love's actually going to be a good quarterback. I really see that. He's already started off solid in training camp. He's had those years to back up with Aaron Rodgers, just like how Favre and Rodgers did themselves. So honestly, I think Love's going to be a solid pick. And Love's going to depend on Watson more than anything. He's going to have to rely on him because they don't have much on that offense. Who's their starting tight end right now?
Somebody better than Christian Watson. The hot dog vendor.
Luke Musgrave is their tight end. Romeo Dobbs. I can't even believe you're bringing up Romeo Dobbs, who was supposed to be better than Watson in the beginning because he did so well in camp and then completely busted throughout the season and didn't do that well. No, Watson's a solid pick, and especially towards the end. Hold on, he had some flashes for sure. Okay, he had that 3-touchdown game. He had like 3 or 4 games where he was over 100 yards. He had some flashes going on for sure. There were some games he got hurt a little bit. No, I think he's gonna build with Jordan Love gradually. I think they'll build their chemistry. I think there'll be a 1A1 with the quarterback being the one, him being the one. I think they're gonna build together because honestly, Jordan Love has no one else to throw to, and yeah, Aaron Jones.
He's got Dobbs to throw to.
He doesn't. Dobbs is not that good. Dobbs did not do well last season.
He didn't. You know who Dobbs had more catches than last season?
Watson didn't start off well.
Watson.
He had a really, really bad start to the season. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Because he's not good. Dobbs missed games. And still had more catches than Christian Watson. Like this is a terrible pick. Might be one of the worst of the draft. And like Chris Godwin, like I would have taken Chris Godwin all day over him for a couple of reasons. One, like you can mention Mike Evans as the number 1 wide receiver in Tampa, but the thing with Evans is he only has 2 seasons over 80 catches. He's more of a big play threat than like people realize. Yes, he's had 1,000 yards obviously every year in his career, but only 2 seasons with over 80 catches. Godwin the last 2 years over 100 catches. So whether it's Baker Mayfield, who's not known for a big arm, or Kyle Trask, who Lord knows what he's going to be, they're going to find Chris Godwin in the check down. Like he's a reception machine. Like I would have taken him over Christian Watson. I would have taken Jerry Jeudy over Christian Watson, Ayuk over Christian Watson, Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones.
Michael Thomas, come on, you would not have taken Michael Thomas over Christian Watson.
I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have taken. But I would have taken Godwin, Jeudy. Definitely Ayuk. I would have taken Pickens. I would have taken Pickens. I'm super high on Pickens, so
I like Pickens a lot.
Take that.
Even though I think Deontay's going to have a bounce back year, I think this year too. So that's neither that. But
Pickens was a beat. Like Pickens would have been a first-round wide receiver if he didn't tear his ACL or whatever it was at Georgia. Like he was a beast.
Yeah.
I think Pickens will be like Evans and Johnson will be like Godwin. In that offense.
Yeah, I think Watson's going to be leaned on way too much to ignore when it comes to fantasy. I really do, because Green Bay's not going to be that good of a team. They're not going to be a playoff team. Love's going to have to lean on somebody. Typically, I say when it's a quarterback who's young and learning, usually they need their tight end the most. He doesn't really have a good tight end to lean on, so he's going to have to lean on his number 1 that much more. It's going to be Watson. You can't deny that Watson's the number 1 receiver on the depth chart. You can't deny it. There's a reason for that.
Romeo Dobbs had more catches, so I don't know. How do you define number 1?
He is. Damn it.
I mean, these are just facts.
Romeo Dobbs isn't even number 2 on the depth chart.
He had more catches than Watson, so I don't know. I mean...
Okay. He had more catches than him. Touche.
It's a pretty leading indicator.
Watson had a bad start. The first 6 games, he barely played. He didn't do much in the first 6 games. He had
Why do you think he barely played? Because he's not good.
He got hurt too. He did get injured partway through the season, and he wasn't able to play in some of those.
So he's not good, and he's injury prone. Great pick.
Why do you keep saying he's not good? He had good games. He had 3 touchdowns in 1 game. Like when he started to develop trust with Aaron Rodgers, Rodgers leaned on him more and more. He had a few games where 40 yards, 50 yards, but he had like 4 or 5. I think he had 4 100-yard games, and he had double-digit touchdowns in like 3 of them. So he can score too. It's not just about catches. He got in the end zone quite a bit too. Now Watson's gonna watch. By the end of the season, you're gonna be coming at me on this podcast, and you're saying, Jeff, I apologize. Watson was the man. Godwin's being traded. My bad.
Yeah,
Can't
you're right.
wait to
I
hear
don't
it.
even
It's
know.
going to
Like
be fantastic.
I don't even know who Watson might finish ahead of. Maybe Tony will probably finish ahead of him. Elijah Moore will probably finish ahead of him.
Tony's hurt. Tony's not even playing.
Watson's injury prone. He's hurt. Jordan Addison will probably finish. I don't see anybody that Watson's going to finish ahead of. He might have more points.
Oh, I can't wait.
Here
This
we go.
season needs to start right now.
Here we go. The Panthers defense. I found one.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm just like.
So you wouldn't have taken Christian Watson over Brandon Cooks or Gabe Davis or none of them, Hollywood Brown, none of them?
No. Oh well. Hollywood Brown. We'll get to that conundrum.
That was a bad pick.
We'll get to that
That
disaster.
one I might admit might have been a bad pick.
All right. I gotta give you some love
now. Please, for the love of God.
All right, let me give you some love. Let me strike this out here so I know not to talk about it. Let me give you some love. This one might take some editing. Only because I feel like we've touched on it already. So I'll ask you. Like I have Rashad Penny as my next to talk about. I can talk about him now. Yeah, I'll just talk about him now. All right, cool. My next love pick for you is one that I know we've touched on, and it's the Rashad Penny pick. I think that's another rock solid pick. One given the team that you have in that number 10 spot, and also given the player. So I'll start with the team. Like, Kenneth Walker, we talked about that, so like no need to rehash. J.K. Dobbins, a little bit of a wild card. Javonte Williams, I think, could be posed for a super strong bounce back year, like you mentioned earlier. This dude was a stud coming out of UNC, and if it wasn't for the torn ACL, he probably would have been a top two pick and top 2 round pick. So I think Rashad Penny here is a great hedge, against some of these other question marks. Of course, you have the injury concerns with Rashad Penny, but last year was kind of a fluke injury. If it's consistent soft tissue injuries and things like that, those tend to flare up. But I think last year was like a broken fibula or something that's just super random. This is a that before he got hurt, on what general consensus was a bad offensive line, was averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Like, that's insane. This dude, he was tearing it up, and not only was he tearing it up, but as we talked earlier, Pete Carroll's known for his running back by committee. Kenneth Walker didn't see the field, because Rashad Penny was doing so well. The Eagles' offensive line, was ranked number 1 last year by Pro Football Focus, for what's that worth. And going into this year, it's still ranked number 1. Like, they didn't lose anybody. So you're looking at a phenomenal offensive line. You're looking at a team.
They lost one. They lost their starting guard, but it's still top. It's probably still number 1 ranked offensive line, but they did lose one. But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, it's still ranked number 1. On a team that loves to run. As you mentioned earlier, Jalen Hurts is, maybe he's a product of the system. Like, this is a team that loves to run. They love to mix it up. And that might scare some people, because they also signed Swift, who, Detroit didn't trust him. Like, he's a phenomenal early down runner, but he's going to get hurt, and he's better catching the ball. So if you have to choose where you're going to use DeAndre Swift because he's going to get hurt, you're not going to use him on the early downs. You're going to give that work to Rashad Penny. DeAndre Swift is going to be your receiving back, more likely than not. And more likely than not, Rashad Penny is going to be your goal line back. So even though it's a timeshare, it's going to be more of a 65-35, in my opinion. Because Rashad Penny is going to be so dominant on those early downs. You're going to have to give him the ball. He's going to get the goal line work. This is an offense that loves to run, and they're facing a more difficult schedule than last year. They're going to lean on the run. Rashad Penny, brilliant pick.
The only thing that scares me with that team is that, yeah, they lost one of their starting guards. Their guard play is a little bit up in the air, so we'll see how they do. And Penny's going to be more of the inside the tackle, or Swift's going to be more of the outside of the tackle. So we'll see. I still love the pick, but I do like Swift a little bit more than Penny. Me personally, I think Swift's going to be solid. So we'll see. It's up in the air, but it's still, yeah. For where I got him, I agree with you. That was a solid pick where I got him at. So
Wait,
because
wait,
he is,
you like Swift more than Penny? Swift didn't even get drafted.
yeah, he did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he's on right there, right after Justin Fields, right after T.J. Hawkinson, right before Jerry Judy. There you go.
Oh.
He got drafted.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm not saying. I think Penny has more of an upside to him as long as the guard play stays solid in between the tackles. I think that's where it needs to be. They still have Kelsey in there, but the strong point of the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is their tackles position. So, um, and that's where Swift I think is going to get a little bit more of the run. Personally, Penny can still bounce at the outside if he wants, but Swift's more, I think, known for doing that than anything. So we'll see. I think they both have a lot of potential. I think both of them can be studs, maybe even together. To be honest with you, I think that offense is going to blow up. So we'll see. But yeah, I still love the pick where I got him because he's a potential. He blew up 2 seasons ago. Last year he got injured, but like he's shown multiple times that he can take the reins and be a top 10 back. So
Yeah, I mean, he was a first round pick, and like say what you want about Seattle, but like they haven't missed a lot recently. So
they draft well. They draft well.
yeah.
Yes. All right. So last one that I hate for you. Not that I hate the player like you said earlier on a few of them. I don't really hate the player. I just hate where you got him. George Kittle. I don't like where you got him. You got him on the first team. You got him on the fifth round, basically the fourth into the fifth, so it's like the beginning of the fifth round. I think was way too early. To me, tight.
Early.
If you're going to take a tight end, especially super early, I think Andrews was a good pick. Where we picked him, I think he was in the third round, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, third round. Kelsey was in the first round, but honestly, with Kittle, his statistics, he started his career solid. He had 2 seasons over 1,000 yards, like his second and third season. But after that, I think last year he had like 750 yards. He's mainly his points mainly come from touchdowns, and as great as that is, his consistency levels kind of trailing off a little bit. The older he's getting, he's already 29 years old, so he's getting up there. And he's one of those ones, like I talked about earlier. Kelsey isn't one of those tight ends that'll block a lot and he doesn't get hit a lot. Kittle's the exact opposite. He loves contact. He loves hitting constantly. So he's getting wear and tear on his body. I still like him. I've got him in a keeper league. I still think he'll do good this season, but I think where you got him at, and then where you can see the run in tight ends 2 rounds later with Waller, Pitts, Goddard, Hawkinson, there's arguments that Waller and Hawkinson for sure can have just as good, if not better, seasons than Kittle. Pitts is a wild card. Goddard's, he's up there with all the weapons in Philly. It's tough, but I think if you had waited a little longer for him, I would have been a little bit more happy with that pick. But yeah, you could have got Damian Pierce there. Like, think about that. You could have got McCaffrey, Jones, and then still got Pierce, and then even 1 round later, instead of taking Madison, so you could have got Pierce for Madison, and then you still could have got Kittle or Waller at that point, and still would have been okay. So that's how I kind of look at it. So again, not hating the pick. He's still a top tier tight end. But if you look at the statistics, like Kelsey, I think last year had 230 something points fantasy wise. And then you go to Kittle, who I think was like second or third in the league, but he drops down to like 160, 170. So it's a big drop off. And honestly, a lot of the tight ends start to be at that 140 to 160 range, and it's not much of a difference. So that's
Yeah.
just my big beef with that one.
I
Not a
mean,
bad pick, but I think you could have waited a little longer for him.
look, yeah. I mean, look. If I had a crystal ball, sure. I would love to wait. Um, so twofold, right? So let me touch on why I like George Kittle first, and then I'll touch like why I like George Kittle independent of this pick, and then I'll touch on why I took him here. Um, so I mean, you're 100% right in terms of the drop off, and from like Kittle in PPR leagues, Kittle finished third last year. In non PPR, for the weirdos that are still doing that,
Which is crazy because he only has like 60 catches, I think, last season. He didn't even have like a lot of them had like 70 to 80 catches. He only had
yeah,
like 60. It's all
it's
touchdowns.
wild. He is very touchdown dependent. So like if so PPR he finished third, non PPR who's ever out there still doing that he finished second. Um, but here's why I like him is he really started to come on with Purdy. And, I know Purdy's got, he's coming back from Tommy John, whatever. But when he comes back, he's going to be the starter on that team, unless Sam Darnold, really makes a run for it. But Kittle's stats, over Purdy's, 7 games that he started last year, 28 catches, 315 yards, 7 touchdowns. May not blow you away, but his last 3 games is where he really turned on with 14 catches for 172 yards and 5 touchdowns. Like so, kind of like your argument earlier with Watson and Rodgers developing chemistry as time went on. Kittle and Purdy did that as well. They really started to develop a chemistry, over those last couple games of the season. So when he comes back, they're just gonna be done. Everybody on that offense got better, but they're just going to be dynamic and tight. And tight end is just such a thin position, to begin with, that it makes it difficult when you're drafting in the number one spot, and and the draft kind of unfolds this way. So like that's my mini rant on why I like Kittle. I think him and Purdy have a lot of chemistry. Yes, he's very touchdown dependent, but he really started to break out into his own as the season went on. Now, as for why I took him here, um, it's tough, right? So we go, we come back. At this point, I had my top 4 set in my lineup, right? Like it's gonna be McCaffrey, Adams, Waddle, Jones. So now I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, do I draft for my flex, or do I take the next, or do I draft my tight end spot? Because tight end is so lean, maybe I can get an advantage here. And if I didn't draft Kittle here, I don't know what's going to happen over these next 18 picks. Like Andrews is
It's
already
hard
gone.
drafting from the first spot. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
like if I'm 5, maybe I don't take Kittle here. If I'm over here where you took Gibbs, like I probably take Gibbs and I don't take Kittle if he's still on the board because it's less of a risk to slink back around. But my recommendation would be if you're drafting in this spot, before filling out your flex, fill out your tight end because you don't know what's going to
When that
happen. Like
run starts.
if this run would have started, like now I'm dealing with Fryermuth, which good tight end,
Not
but
bad, yeah. But he's
or
not
short,
Kittle.
like
I get what yeah.
like the upside's not there. So that's why I would recommend if you're in this spot and you filled out 4 of your 5. Now, also of note, which I should note here, is this was my team where I was determined not to take a quarterback, because Aaron Rodgers, as the number 1 overall pick, Aaron Rodgers was always my go-to. I took Prescott here just for trade bait because I think Prescott is going to have a good season, but my go-to was always to sleep on a quarterback until I can get Aaron Rodgers because I felt he was going to fall, just coming off of last year. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the Jets. So you could argue quarterback here or quarterback earlier, and I'd be, and if you're like, hey, I went with Josh Allen here instead of Jalen Waddle, okay, cool, totally fine. Then that changes who you draft in this spot. But
Yeah.
if you're in the number 1 spot, that's what I would recommend. If you get to this, like draft your top 4, draft your top 5, wait on a quarterback because there's going to be good ones available, and take Kittle. Fill out your roster is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Not terrible. Not terrible at all. Like you said, it makes more sense when you put it into the fact that you didn't know when the run was going to start. It just sucks because, like I said, you miss out on Pierce, you missed out on DJ Moore, who you absolutely, I know you love him. I love DJ Moore as
Yeah.
well, which leads me into my love section for you. Is you we'll go back to Team Five. I loved Mixon earlier. I also love that you were able to get 3-star running backs, a star wide, or a star quarterback, and then you were able to put together DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin back to back like that. That was incredible to me. DJ Moore, I think, is gonna give Fields that weapon that he desperately needed last season. So I think he's gonna be a big upgrade, and he's gonna get a lot of targets for sure. And then McLaurin doesn't really, he doesn't matter who's throwing it to him. He's consistent. He stayed consistent no matter who it is. Carson Wentz, Heineke, whoever you find off the street, he's going to be able to at least get open with his speed and make something happen of it. So I think they still have solid seasons. I think McLaurin, not top 10 receiver, same with Moore, but they're in that top 20, I would say for sure. I think they'll surprise some people, but to get them where you got them, I thought was pretty solid to where you got that. Even Hawkinson too. Like Hawkinson's going to be a great tight end. I think he was fourth, if I'm not mistaken, last year in PPR. So to even get your fourth best tight end after filling out all those spots is even more fantastic. But yeah, I love that DJ Moore pick mostly. I think that he's going to be a stud this year. I loved him in Carolina, and seeing Fields running all over the place, waiting for someone to get open, and the best option they had to give him was the kid from Pittsburgh. The name escapes me right now. Oh, Claypool. Sorry. To give him Claypool and think that was going to be the answer was absolutely atrocious. So DJ Moore should be pretty solid this season.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I think this is these two wide receivers stacked. I love, like you do. A lot of people in the audience probably also had these two stacked last year, and are probably feeling pretty burnt. You got DJ Moore that a lot of drafts he was at least first or second round. And McLaurin was coming off of 77 catches over 1,000 yards. Like he was probably third or fourth round. But yeah, no, it's solid. Like again, like this was my no wide receiver team, which worked out better than my no running back team. Logic here is coming back around. Like you just got two number one wide receivers. Like if you're faced with, hey, should I take Drake London, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, or DJ Moore? I think DJ Moore just has the higher upside. So go that route. And then Terry McLaurin, again, he's the number one wide receiver. I think, you took Dotson, who I think is a big threat to a lot of to some of McLaurin's targets and yards.
Yeah.
But I think McLaurin
still had 1,100 yards last year. Like it's not like
yeah.
he was some bum that just fell off. Like he still was
Yeah.
a solid pick. And DJ Moore was just in a shit situation with Carolina. And now that he's going to be a number one somewhere else, where a guy can prolong the play that much more with Justin Fields' running ability. Yeah, I think that's kind of a no-brainer. McLaurin was the one I'm least worried about. More, it's a new system. We'll see how they utilize him, obviously. But
Yeah.
Eberflus, the new head coach, he is known for doing some good things on offense. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if they can put it together.
Yeah, I'm very happy drafting 5 there and getting, going my 0 wide receiver strategy and then being able to snag Moore and McLaurin, like 2. I'm not saying they're wide receiver 1s in terms of fantasy, but wide receiver 1s on their team. I was very happy with. So
that team was solid up until that Mike Thomas pick. That pick was pretty bad for me. I know everybody loves his name and everything like that, but he's just. I think I would have rather taken Deontay Johnson personally, but that team's still solid. That team's definitely going to be contending for a championship.
No, I agree. Like I went Mike Thomas just for upside. Because maybe he returns to form. Uh, I think like Deontay Johnson, to your point, probably will be more consistent. You can argue that Burks has more upside now that they got Hopkins over there commanding attention, and I think that Addison might be more consistent.
Yeah, you
Uh,
love Addison. Yeah.
so like I don't, yeah, I'm not mad. Like this was strictly an upside pick. I didn't know where he was going to go, so it's like, hey, like if it hits,
High risk, high reward kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. Like if it hits, it's like, oh my god, like because you don't know, like obviously Olave's there, but
Yeah. To me,
yeah,
it's tough because for 2 years straight, I've done that with Michael Thomas, and I've been burnt for 2 years now. So,
yeah,
in turn, I'm not really happy with him. So that's the
yeah. Hey, worst case scenario, he's a bye week fill in. Best case scenario, he's a flex start. Like that's and Zay Flowers too. Like Zay Flowers on this team was a wild
you
card.
hate Zay Flowers. Don't do that.
I do. I know I do.
Don't.
Like, I'm not a huge fan of Zay Flowers, but I'm also not afraid. I'm the mayor of honesty, so I'm not afraid to admit if I'm wrong. So I'm like, hey, maybe I'm wrong on Zay Flowers. Let me just take him because I felt good about these two receivers, and
Yeah.
again, like my lineup is going to most likely be three running backs, two receivers, like
Yeah.
most weeks.
Yeah. Evans will be the flex, bye weeks most of the time. So I
Yeah.
get it. Again, I think that team's contending for a championship right off the bat. I don't disagree, but yeah. All right. What else do you hate of mine? Uh,
Hate.
your last hate of mine.
The last one they get to talk about anyway. Whew, I think I don't want to say I saved the best for last, but I think I maybe saved the most obvious for last. Is this James Conner, a Hollywood Brown stack? Like I think I understand the logic. It's like, hey, it's this late in the game. I get a number one running back. I get a number one wide receiver. But I also think maybe you didn't realize they were on the same team. Well, not
I
that they were.
do. That
Like
was the
I
whole
know you
point.
know that they're on Arizona, but
Yeah,
like,
that was the whole point.
but I'm like, my
Arizona,
God,
Arizona has to find points either through running the ball or passing the ball. So one way or another, I'm going to get points out of one of those two players. And
no, they're
considering,
awful. Like
I
Arizona,
know they're awful. I don't disagree with that, but somebody's getting fantasy points. You could still be awful, and there's going to be fantasy points somewhere to be had. And
you
for
know,
Connor to be my third running or my fourth running back, and Hollywood Brown to be my fourth receiver, like you said, like I don't plan on playing them much, but if one happens to erupt a little bit, so be it. James Conner's a touchdown vulture, dude. Like if they do get in the end zone, rarely, it's most likely going to be him getting the scores. So that's I don't know. And Connor, he's tough and gritty. I don't have to worry too much about injuries. He usually fights through injuries pretty well. Um, yeah, and then Hollywood Brown was it's more that those two picks were more of a stick both of them to the wall. One of them's hopefully going to stick because of that offense. That's how I was looking at it.
none of them are going to stick. I'll give you
For that
Connor.
late, I don't think it's
Connor,
bad.
Connor might stick because like once once Murray got hurt, like Connor did okay. Like I think he averaged 70 yards a game, with a couple touchdowns. But also, they had to worry about D Hop. Hollywood Brown was just awful all of last year, especially after Oh Boy went down. So like, it's a dark throw. I guess I get it, but if I was taking dart throws at this point in the game, like given that team, yikes. I would have preferred Zay Flowers, Elijah Moore, Elijah Mitchell, or even Tyler Lockett, who I think we both disrespected a little bit, um, or even
Yeah.
Trent Richardson, maybe.
Well,
You know,
Lockett's being phased out. That's the only reason why I'm scared with him is because he's becoming the third receiver on that team, and I don't know how
I
that's going
agree.
to work out with
I
him.
agree,
So yeah,
but
that's a little scary. But
I agree. But he did have better numbers um, than DK last year. I know you don't care about things like receptions, as noted earlier with your.
Look, he's a number one receiver on that team. Like, and it's a new offense. It's a new head coach. You don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? You never know.
I mean, I would have taken
More
like.
than likely.
I know you wound up getting Christian Kirk, but like you could have taken Christian Kirk there. Like if you flip Christian Kirk and Brown, I'm okay. So like that's just better news on Christian Kirk being a good pick, but taking like Connor and Brown are both going to be very bad, and taking them back to back. I know it's a snake, so it wasn't quick turn, but like it's just ugly. Like it just doesn't. It's just like those are like Connor could do okay. Like he's a decent player. He only really had one bad year, but like there's just so many other. Again, I would take Flyer.
I don't disagree with you. I'm not a fan of that team when it comes to the back end for sure. Connor and Marquise Brown. If I had taken them earlier, I would have hated myself even more. I don't disagree with you, but yeah, that's more of a let's see where the chips may fall. Because I hated Connor last season too, and then I watched him.
Well.
I was like, all right, he's still putting up numbers despite me hating on him. And who's going to compete with him? There's really nobody behind him that's going to compete in Arizona.
Yeah, Connor could wind up being a really good pick. He could. He could.
His backup's Keontae Ingram. Do you see Keontae Ingram on the board? I don't. So I'm.
He's a stud. He's a stud.
Yeah, and then Hollywood's number one. Rondell Moore is the number two, who's been a flop ever since he got drafted into that team. So I mean, he hasn't really done much. So,
but Colt McCoy's the starter.
Yeah, but it's not like they're still an NFL offense. It's not like they're not going to put up any type of points whatsoever. It's not like they're going to get shut out every week. They're going to get shut out majority of the time, but not every week. Somebody's putting up some type of points.
The Browns were an NFL offense, and they went 0-16. Like this
still
team
put up points.
This team, like
find a fantasy player that would have put up points on that team.
Like, Kyler Murray's not playing next year. Like they're going to be so bad. They're going to be so bad. They're going to have no incentive to play Kyler. By the time Kyler Murray comes back, they're going to be 2-10. Like they're not playing Kyler Murray. Like, and then they're going to draft Caleb Williams.
I like Connor more than I like Hollywood Brown. I'll give you that. Connor has me a little bit more comfortable than Hollywood Brown does. But we'll see. I don't disagree with you. I wasn't thrilled about the pick, but it was more of I got Arizona's running back just in case they say, hell, let's do another air raid offense and just throw it all over the place.
Yep.
Because last time I checked, I don't lose points for when Colt McCoy throws interceptions when he's going to Hollywood Brown. I only get points on that one play where he gets an 80-yard touchdown on Hollywood Brown because he broke off. So I'm good. I didn't take Colt McCoy.
This is our league. We could add that. We could add targeted interceptions.
Intercepted target.
All right, so that's a wrap on the love and hate.
No. Where's my love?
I didn't give you love.
I want my.
I thought I started with love. Oh, I didn't start with love. You're right. Sorry. I just hold on. Let me look real quick.
Jesus.
I gotta look for one more.
I gotta look.
Let me see. Oh no, that was my pick. No.
We need to play these teams out now, right? Like we gotta form a league just to see who does better.
Oh, we're absolutely gonna have to upload these. Pick that I really really liked. Again, player related, and then also team related. Gibbs. I think that is a huge get. I know a lot of talk with rookie running backs is around, Bijan Robinson, but we talked offline, and neither one of us are super high on Bijan Robinson, and Gibbs he's just going to be a stud. When you look at Detroit, like I know the Lions have been a laughing stock for a long time, but they had a really good year last year, and a sneaky good offensive line. They're again, for what it's worth, like their offensive line was rated number 5 by Pro Football Focus last year. So, like, look at Goff.
You're good when you make Jared Goff look good.
Exactly. Like that's just where I was going. Is like Goff.
Yeah.
Goff needs an offensive line to be good, and Goff
Yeah.
looked every bit of the part of a number one overall pick. Um, you saw it last year with Swift and Williams, who both had really good years. Williams led the league in touchdowns, and he was an afterthought on Green Bay. Um, so sneaky good offensive line. He has receiving chops. He caught 40 passes for over 400 yards last year. His only competition right now is David Montgomery, who had some good time in Chicago, but let's not forget this is a guy that averages 3.9 yards for his career, so it's not like he's a stud. And he's an Alabama running back. Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Mark Ingram, Damian Harris. Like, what more evidence do you need? Like, I mean, the dude's gonna be a stud. So I love the pick as a player, and then I love the pick for this team. Like when you take Nick Chubb number one overall for this team, sorry, so number 6 overall, strong running back. Like he's always going to be in the argument to be top 5 at the end of the year. Then you go St. Brown, stud, Mark Andrews,
Love
stud.
St. Brown. Love St. Brown.
What worries me a little bit about St. Brown is once Jameson Williams comes back, we'll see what that looks like. My advice, like since it's brought like my advice on St. Brown is if you're in a position where you need depth, sell high in the beginning of the year before Jameson Williams comes back. Mark Andrews, I think last year I thought Mark Andrews was going to be tight end 1, but I think this year it actually happens now that they opened up the offense a little bit more with Beckham Jr., with Zay Flowers, and maybe Rashad Bateman does something. I think this Devontae Smith pick was a miss, but regardless, I mean the guy's 90 catches at that 1,100 yards, so it's still a really good pick. So if you can wait 1, 2, 3, 4 until the 5th round to get your RB2, and your RB2 is Gibbs, like I think that's a home run. I'll backtrack. I don't think Devontae Smith was a miss. Because again, like the dude had 90 catches for over 1,000 yards and I think 6 or 7 touchdowns. Like he's a solid pick. So like if you can skip on all these other running backs and still get a guy at the end of the day that has, in my opinion, the ability to compete for top 10 this year in points, like that's a home run.
Yeah. Devontae's, like you said, he's not a miss. There's some potential in other guys like Olave. A lot of people love. Debo. He's got a lot of potential. I don't like Metcalf too much over Devontae, but even DJ Moore, I could even make the argument for. But they're all right there. Like it's not like it's a different tier. So that's why Devontae I thought was pretty good where I got him for the most part. But yeah, Gibbs. I don't sleep on Montgomery though. Let's make that clear. Like you got to remember, yes, Montgomery's only averaging 3.9 over his career. He also played in Chicago. I mean, that's not the best offensive line they've ever put together either. Like, not many Pro Bowlers coming off of that offensive line. So Montgomery still has some potential, in my opinion. And I think behind Detroit's line, I think that could be a good timeshare for both of them. I think both of them will contribute. And I think Montgomery will get some points out of it as well. That's why I also, just so you know, if you like that team, if you like that pick and you like that team that much, Montgomery's just a few picks lower than that. So just a nice little handcuff I threw in there.
It is a decent handcuff, but it does worry me a little bit, like because you got St. Brown, Gibbs, and Montgomery. Like that's.
I got Montgomery in like the 9th round, the 10th round, right? Like,
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying
that's
like
great.
it's.
If I had to pick any Detroit Lions, St. Brown, that kid is going to be a freaking stud. You want to talk about competing with Justin Jefferson and competing with Chase? St. Brown's going to be in that conversation this year. Watch.
I don't disagree. And just going back to the Gibbs pick, like I'm looking at it now, and like there's not. I don't think there's a running back I would have taken over him there, other than Cam Akers.
Shut up.
And and there's honestly like there's running backs ahead of him that I would have taken Gibbs over. Like I would have taken Gibbs instead of some of those other running backs. Like I might have even like looking at it now, like maybe I take Gibbs over Pollard. I don't know. Like that might be a stretch, but you can make the argument, and I wouldn't hate it.
Over Brees Hall, over
Yeah,
Kamara.
yeah,
Yeah. Pierce is maybe definitely over Aaron Jones. Even
yeah,
though you're
yeah,
high on
yeah.
Aaron Jones, but
No, but
um,
Gibbs over Aaron Jones is a better call.
yeah, if you're drafting, Gibbs probably shouldn't fall that far, but if he does, you're stealing easily one of the best picks in the draft. So
Yeah, Gibbs over
yeah,
is a good call.
glad I got my love on that one. Thank goodness, good stuff.
I had to give you something.
All right, let's finish strong. What kind of sleepers? What kind of sleepers are you working with in this draft? You got any sleepers that you picked that you're like, this is a guy that I think is going to really blow up?
So I've got three that
Okay.
that I want to talk about, but I'm gonna start with the one that might be the most shocking, but it also might be the least impactful. Uh, and that's New Orleans defense. So like I
That's all the
love
time we have tonight, folks. Uh,
yeah.
what?
Dude, I'm telling you, like people are sleeping on New Orleans defense. Like, sure, you got San Fran, Philly, Bills, blah 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 blah, but like I'm telling, like New Orleans defense this year has a chance to be one of the best fantasy defenses of all time, and also maybe one of the best
Of
defenses of all
all
time.
time?
Yes, hear me out. Hear me out. So let me just list you out the quarterbacks that New Orleans plays this year. One,
All right.
one of Ryan Tannehill or rookie Will Levis. We don't know. Two, rookie Bryce Young. Three, first year starter Jordan Love. Four, Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. We don't know. Five, Macaroni Jones. Six, rookie CJ Stroud. Seven, Trevor Lawrence. Okay. Eight, rookie Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew. Oh no. Nine, Justin Fields. Okay. 10, Kirk Cousins. Okay. 11, Desmond Ritter. 12, Jared Goff. Okay. 13, again, rookie Bryce Young. 14, trash can Daniel Jones. 15, agent Matt Stafford. 16, Mayfield or Kyle Trask. We still don't know. And then wraps up with Desmond Ritter. That is the
Their
worst.
se-
Yes, go ahead.
their 17th game is so 16 is Mayfield.
Or Trask. We don't know.
It's Mayfield. We know it's Mayfield. Okay, so fantasy championship weekend, you get Baker Mayfield versus the New Orleans Saints. Okay, I get it.
but it's not. But it's
So
not only.
yeah,
It's not only that they face like the worst. Like they're facing like what, three Pro Bowl quarterbacks throughout the whole year. Like it's an awful lineup. But also like because their team wasn't great last year, like their defense gets slept on. Like so last year they let up the fifth fewest yards per game, the second fewest passing yards per game. They had the fifth most sacks and were top 10 in fewest points allowed. So this isn't just like a defense that's facing bad quarterbacks. This is a damn good defense facing bad quarterbacks.
where were they in interceptions?
Well, that's neither here nor there. They were they
how,
were
how many touchdowns did they score?
they were bottom. They were I think bottom 10. They were bottom 10 in interceptions. But they faced Tom Brady twice a year last year, so like they're not gonna have to deal with that again. Um, I'm sure they had a better schedule because this year
They
they're
still had Desmond. They still had Desmond Ritter. They had Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold in Carolina. It wasn't. They didn't have much competition last year either. I mean, I get where you're going with this, but at the end of the day, if you're going fantasy defenses, interceptions and turnovers for touchdowns. Sacks are good. I like that they're good at sacks, and I like their linebacker Demario Davis. I think he's good, but they didn't do anything to really improve the secondary. Their defensive line's aging. If New Orleans Saints comes off the board, it's not going to be coming off of my list. That's all I'm saying. I'm just
This is
throwing
a
it out
stud
there.
defense. You can put them ahead of let some defenses that I would put them ahead of the Bills. The Bills have a much more difficult schedule. Put them ahead of the Patriots. The Patriots have to go against the toughest division in the NFL. You could argue the Panthers because they have a very similar schedule. Cowboys have a very tough schedule. My New York Football Jets. Obviously I love the Jets. Huge Jets fan. If I'm being honest, their defense was propped up by second and third string quarterbacks last year. When you look against our 7 wins, 5 of them were against backups. Pump the brakes on the Jets defense. Sauce Gardner's great. Quentin Richardson is great, but pump the brakes. Steelers defense trash. Ravens defense trash.
Yeah, but you said a few stats on there when you were talking about New Orleans that have nothing to do with fantasy football. You said like they didn't give up a lot of yardage. Doesn't mean a damn thing. I don't give a shit if you give up 700 yards as long as you're getting me 2 picks for touchdowns. I don't give a shit. That's all I care about in fantasy. Okay, I don't care how many passing yards they allowed or anything like that. It means nothing to me. I want fantasy points. I want good special teams, which they don't have. I want turnovers. I want sacks, which you did mention. Okay, they're good in sacks. That's fine, but they're not getting a lot of turnovers. They're not getting a lot of scores. They're wasting my time. I'll take New England's defense, who's giving up a bunch of yards because they're going against Josh Allen, but they got a ton of. I think the top 5 in interceptions as far as sacks. They were doing pretty well in sacks, but they had a lot of turnovers for touchdowns. So that's the biggest piece. I'm sorry, New Orleans.
That's a fluky stat. Turnovers for touchdowns is a fluky stat.
That's not the only turnover. That's not only the stat I mentioned.
I will. Yards per game and
sacks, interceptions, fumbles.
The Saints got fumbles. Don't worry. So I hear what you're saying on yards per game and passing yards per game. They don't necessarily correlate to fantasy points. My point there is just painting the picture of this is a defense that's ready to break out and that's ready to pounce. So don't be surprised if that'd be like saying, hey, like your boy Christian Watson, who had a lot of yards per catch.
Don't turn it back around because I made a bad pick that you all of a sudden this pick's justified.
I'm just saying, that's the only justification you can have for Christian Watson is like, well, he's got a lot of yards per catch, or he's got a lot of air yards. But
listen, Picasso, you can paint the picture. You can paint the picture all you want, but at the end of the day, you got to turn around that canvas, and all I'm going to see is a stick figure. That's all I'm saying.
New Orleans defense might have more points than Christian Watson this year.
Stop it. Okay, who else do you? Can you give me a true sleeper, please?
There's a good chance. How many more you want?
You got 2 more. Let's hear them.
All right, another person I'm super high on. And I took him. What did I take? Elijah Moore. So I took him here
in Cleveland.
And took him in the 13th round. So again, look, I get it. I'm a Jets fan, so maybe there's some bias here. But having watched many Jets games, this dude is always open on damn near every play. Elijah Moore is a monster. And hey, don't take my word for it. You can take AJ Brown's word for it. He came out and said that he'd be shocked if Elijah Moore wasn't the rookie of the year, obviously 2 years ago. He and Elijah Moore, they have a very close relationship from the time at Ole Miss. They practice together. He's been on record saying that Elijah Moore has taught him so much. And the kid is just a monster. He's quick. You can line him up out wide. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up out of the backfield, which, oh, by the way, those are all things that Cleveland is doing right now. The best part about being a Jets fan is that you get to criticize a lot of the bad things that the Jets do because they do a lot of bad things. and they do a lot of things that don't make sense. And not utilizing Elijah Moore is is one of those things. Like it's criminal how underused that he was in New York. And when you look at the reports coming out of camp in Cleveland, like the dude's he's poised for a breakout. Like he's been lining up in the slot, out wide, and in the backfield. The reports out of camp are that Deshaun Watson is locking onto him more than he is Amari Cooper. And Amari Cooper finished number 8 last year for fantasy wide receivers. And okay, whatever. I'm not saying Elijah Moore is going to finish 8, but if defenses now they have to focus on Amari Cooper, they have to focus on Nick Chubb, they have to focus on Njoku because he put up some numbers. Like there's going to be plenty of room to run for Elijah Moore. And again, like when I say Elijah Moore is a sleeper, like I'm not saying he's going to come out and be your wide receiver 1. But what I'm saying is getting him in the 13th round of a 15-round draft, he could be your wide receiver 2. At worst, flex. And I'm going to
Especially in
argue.
PPR.
Yeah, PPR, of course, yeah. I'm gonna argue at the end of the year he will be wide receiver 2, and probably somewhere in the 20s, which
Yeah,
again I think for a 13th round pick is more than you can ask for.
I don't disagree with that. I think Elijah Moore is a great pick. What I find funny is your word usage, because anything out of Cleveland, when I hear the words monster and criminal, I don't think Elijah Moore. I think of their quarterback. But that's neither here nor there. That's the only thing I think of when I hear that in Cleveland. So,
Fair. Fair.
but no, Elijah Moore, I agree. He was good in New York. I had him as a keeper one year in a dynasty league. I thought he was a stud too. I completely agree with you. And I think if they utilize him correctly and Stefanski knows what he's doing, yeah, that's a solid. That's one of those ones where you're throwing it at the dartboard, and it's definitely going to hit somewhere. You just don't know if it's going to be the bullseye or if it's going to be, like a little bit lower number, but it's still going to hit. So he's definitely a great pick. I do like that pick a lot. That's a good
Yeah,
sleeper.
I think 70 catches, 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns is well within the realm of possibilities. And again, they're not blow you away stats, but for a 13th round pick, like you could do a lot worse.
He's a good
Maybe,
gadget guy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like you said.
I got one more that I would like to talk about, but
Yeah,
before I get there, I want to hear a couple of yours.
you want to flip mine? Yeah, I was thinking that too. Um, I had one for each team, but I'll focus on 3 just to kind of narrow it down. Because I love St. Brown, but that's not really too much of a sleeper. He went in the 2nd round. I'm not really going to count that much. Najee Harris, I'm not really, going to harp on too much. That was an early pick. I know this is a little bit biased, even though he's not on my team anymore, but I've seen him a lot, and I know what he's capable of. And that's Damian Harris in Buffalo.
Oh
This
boy.
kid is. You talked about it. Alabama running backs. There you go. Need I say more? This kid, I'm telling you, he's a stud. His calves are ridiculous. His thigh muscles are insane. His legs are. He just does not stop churning.
What are we talking about here?
Constantly.
What are we talking about?
I'm telling you, he fights through every single play. He does not give up. He had the injury bug a few times, which kind of diminished him a little bit. And then we landed Stevenson, which is an absolute stud as well. The only problem with Harris, he doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield very well. So that's something that hinders him in a PPR. But I'm telling you, he will overtake James Cook this season. Period. He will be a stud. He will be 1,000-yard rusher again. He's gonna. 2 seasons ago he put up 15 touchdowns. Let's think about that for a second. I mean, this in the age of passing that we're in, 15 touchdowns in New England. That's pretty impressive. So I really think he's capable of a breakout season and coming back, a big comeback season. And I think he's capable of being a top 15 back. So we'll see. I mean, that's something we'll have to look into. But Buffalo, they've got a good offensive line. It's not like they're like top 10 offensive line. They've got Josh Allen to keep everybody honest. They've got all those receivers to keep them honest. They got both tight ends now. So now they can run 2 tight end sets. which is going to be pretty good to help out as well. Telling you, watch out for Harris.
Yeah, so I don't I don't hate it. And if I'm being 100% honest, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about Buffalo, and like he mentioned, like, oh, Buffalo needs a running game, blah blah blah. I was like, yo, but they signed Damian Harris, and he said, oh well, if that's my saving grace, then like I'm not excited about that. And I'm like, Damian Harris is good. Like he is a good running back. You know, and evidence of that is we both love Stevenson. And before Harris got hurt, he was keeping Stevenson off the field.
Yep.
And Stevenson was getting just a lot of the third down snaps because he's a better receiving back. And then obviously, once Harris got hurt, and then Stevenson, came in and proved his worth. So, um, obviously, I want to hate the pick because I drafted James Cook. But I don't like logically. I don't disagree. Do I think that he might supplant James Cook? Yes. Do I think that leads to a top 15 finish? I'm not sure. It could because Buffalo has come out and said that they want to limit Josh Allen's running, and between the two, Harris is obviously more the bruiser than Cook. So that could happen. Like it's hard. It's hard to it's hard to argue. Like the framework for Harris bust. I don't even want to say busting out because, like you said, he already scored 15 touchdowns. Is there, and then I think even more logically, like if you're faced in that scenario like you are in this draft, like, hey, should I take Harris or Connor? Like, you're taking Harris over Connor all day. So yeah, I think I like it. I think that's a great call, and probably one that's slept on by a lot of people. Because James Cook is the hype of this offseason, and Harris was kind of an underrated signing. So I think that's the definition of a sleeper pick.
It's sad too because James Cook is living off of his name, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I really think that's one of the biggest parts of it is that if it wasn't for Dalvin Cook, James Cook would not be hyped up as much as he is, and it's kind of not fair in a way. But to get Harris in the 8th round, like I said, even let's say he finishes top 30 running back. Let's say he's a top 30, top 25, right around there. That's still a steal to get in the 8th round going into the 9th round. Like, yeah, I think he's got too much upside, and I think the floor is still high enough to where it's well worth where the pick is. So
By the way, if Harris and Connor hit, that number two team's looking pretty good.
if both of them, well, you hate Christian Watson, so I don't know.
Well, you
If we
wouldn't
want
play
to,
him.
we want to use him in the flex, so that's good. We'll
Yeah,
have
yeah,
DK
you
and
wouldn't play
Debo.
him.
So
So like I'm saying, like if
yeah,
Harris and Connor hit, like because I think Kirk would be your fill-in more so than Brown, and then Watson you'd probably cut him for a kicker or something. But
who's another sleeper on this team. Watch out for Nkonkwo, the tight
yeah,
end out of Tennessee. That
yeah.
kid, they love that kid a lot. Like he has the potential to break out this year too. I didn't put him as a sleeper because he's still relatively early, and I don't know if I'm going to pick him on that yet. But I think he can have a breakout year too. So that's another good pick on that dream. But
Oh, way to toot your own horn. That's cool.
they like him a lot. The kid's a beast.
Yeah.
But then yeah.
All right, what else you got? What else you got?
My other one, since you've already done two, I'll do another one. I'm just looking for him real quick. Where did I put? There he is. Mike Williams from the Chargers. I don't know why people forgot about him. Not sure what happened or why he dropped so much, but this kid's a stud. Like I don't understand. Like he's one of he is Mike Williams 5 years ago or 4 years ago, like or Mike Evans. I mean, 5 years ago. He goes up and gets it. He's easily 1,000-yard receiver when he's healthy. I got him as my third receiver. He's my flex receiver, and I don't see anything. I think he's gonna be like you said, Keenan Allen. If he does get injured, or if he just starts to fall off because he's getting a little bit older. I mean, Mike Williams is right there to take the reins. And as you said before as well, one of my biggest factors in Mike Williams being more beneficial this year and breaking out even more and being that number one receiver for the team is Kellen Moore. That was the whole big thing. You said it yourself. They're going to start taking more shots down the field. Who better to do that with than the 6'4" receiver that they've got that's going up and catching touchdowns? So, yeah, Mike Williams is definitely going to have another breakout year. I don't know why people are sleeping on him so much. I got him in the 6th round, and he easily has that top 15 to top 10 receiver feel to him to me. So I think that was one of the ones I was definitely big on.
Top 10?
He with the offense style that they're going to do, you agreed with me. Herbert's going to be a top tier quarterback. If they, as long as the injuries don't pile up, I really think that he's going to be a top. I'll say 15 to be safe, but he's got the potential to go up even higher if he needs to. I'm telling you, if they give him the opportunities and he stays healthy, that's a top pick. To go with Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson. Whew.
So here,
who don't you like in that receiving core?
Mike Williams. So here's my rub on Mike Williams, and fair or not, like I think why he fell is a lot of people were expecting him to take that leap last year, and he had a very good year. Like I think he 70 catches, over 1,000 yards. No, that was 2 years ago. Sorry. 2 years ago, he had 70 catches and 1,000 yards, and then last year he had 800 yards, 895. I'm looking at it now. Sorry, and 63 catches. So he went backwards. And when you look at his career, I'm gonna cancel out his rookie year. So his rookie year, he went for 11 catches and 95 yards. Then he goes for 43 and 664, 49 and 1,001, 49, 48 and 756, 76, then 1,100. And I think after that, people were expecting him to take the leap, but then he went backwards again and went for 63 for 895. And I think that him and Quentin Johnson profile similarly. Like Mike Williams is 6'4", Quentin Johnson is 6'3". So I think there's a lot of overlap there, and I think that Quentin Johnson is going to wind up being the better of the two of them. Like I haven't watched enough Chargers games to know if it's Mike Williams dropping passes, if it's Mike Williams not getting open. I've seen highlights where this dude just goes up and grabs the ball, so I don't know exactly what it is, but
he gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, so the anomaly,
you'll see how many games he played, but he definitely exited at least 2 to 3 games due to an injury. He still came back and fought through it the next week and stuff, but there were some games where he had to come out of the game and he didn't produce after that, which sucks. But
yeah, but Keenan Allen got hurt last year, and then Mike Williams wasn't there to pick up the slack. Maybe they were hurt simultaneously. I don't know.
At the same time.
I think my thoughts are
that's what hurt Herbert even more last year too.
Yeah.
Is that they actually did get to that point. That's why I mentioned it earlier how the depth chart on the Chargers wide receiver core is so much more important now. Now they have 2 receivers to back them up because Josh Palmer ended up being the number 1 when both of them went down. So
yeah, I just think that I'm not gonna say that Quentin Johnson becomes the number 2 over Mike Williams if Keenan Allen's number 1, but I think they're going to be very comparable. Like I don't see Mike Williams going for 80 catches because they added Quentin Johnson. Like if they didn't add Quentin Johnson, I'd be much higher on Mike Williams. But they added Quentin Johnson, who I think is a beast. They still have Josh Palmer, as you mentioned. Like I don't see the breakout coming for him this year unless. Maybe it's because those other guys draw that much attention, but I don't know. I don't love that one.
I don't think it'll be the catches that boost up. I think he's going to have double-digit touchdown this season. I think that's going to help him. He'll have 1,000 yards at least, and he'll have double-digit touchdowns, and that's going to be the biggest piece. He might have, like you said, like 60, maybe 70 catches, but they're going to be big time catches. So we'll see. Hater.
Well, then where does that leave? No, I'm not a hater. Like I'm like again, like if Quentin Johnson wasn't on the same team, I mean maybe, but like well, not even Quentin. Like I just think Quentin Johnson's going to eat. I'm a big Quentin Johnson fan, so I just think Quentin Johnson's going to eat into those touches more than like Keenan Allen. I'm not high on Keenan Allen, but Keenan Allen's a slot guy. Like he's going to get his. Williams is an outside receiver. Quentin Johnson's going to be an outside receiver, and so one of these two is going to have to sacrifice. And I think it's going to be Mike Williams.
Yeah, because Herbert doesn't want to stick with the guy he's already got chemistry with. Why not build new chemistry with a new guy instead? That makes sense. No, I agree.
Chemistry? Mike Williams can't catch the broadside of barn. Like he's not.
What?
He had 800 yards last year. And that's not a lot of yards.
Catch.
I don't know.
How many drops did he have?
More than he should have. I don't know. I don't know how many drops he had, but like
2 drops.
Yeah, well, that's too many. Gotta clean it up, Mike. If you want to last in this league.
All right, fair enough. All right, you got your third. Who's your third sleeper? Who's your final sleeper?
All right, so my final sleeper is not necessarily. It's similar to like Mike Williams in terms of like it's not a super late round sleeper. It's a better pick than Mike Williams. I took him around before Mike Williams. I really like Miles Sanders this year.
Oh God.
Oh God, yeah, exactly. You're gonna say, "Oh God, I'm so happy I drafted this guy." So here's what you're looking at, right? Like this dude, he's finally free of a timeshare, and again, like don't let the rebuild fool you. Like Carolina's offensive line, like he's with Carolina now this year. They weren't bad. Like their offensive line was ranked in the top half of the league. And for perspective, I bagged on Deontay Foreman earlier and said that he's not a good running back. Like they gave him 5 games over 100 yards, and he's a human trash can. Like their offensive line is good. They have a rookie quarterback. They're gonna look to run the ball. I get, you can say, oh, stack box, like who are they going to throw to and blah, 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 blah. But like Miles Sanders is a dog. He's coming off a year in which he rushed for over 1,200 yards and had 11 rushing scores. And like, this is on Philly's offense. So you had Jalen Hurts.
Number 1 offensive line. Yeah.
Well, yeah. But you still had, so he put up 1,200 yards with 11 touchdowns. But you still had Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott, who took an additional 250 carries and also ran for 20 touchdowns. So is the offensive line that good? Or, does Miles Sanders maybe have some skill in his game? And here's why I love him the most is, the box score doesn't necessarily tell everything, and you can't look everything in the stats. So let's take a look at who is on the Panthers coaching staff. Deuce Staley was the running back coach when Miles Sanders was when Deuce Staley was with the Eagles, and Miles Sanders was on the Eagles.
The one who couldn't get DeAndre Swift to run the ball well? Yeah, I remember him.
He was the running back coach, not the offensive coordinator. Josh McCown was now he's the OC with Carolina, and he was the Eagles quarterback when Miles Sanders was on the team. And then you have Frank Wright, who obviously was the Eagles OC, when Sanders was on the team. So you have all of the offensive coaching staff connected to this runner when this runner was a free agent. They could have signed any free agent running back that in the league. They signed him for a reason. And that's because they knew he was underutilized in Philly, and they're ready to feed him, and they're ready to let him eat. Like his only competition at this point is Chuba Hubbard. Like Chuba Hubbard sucks. He had his opportunity last year. He sucks. He lost his opportunity last year to Deontay Foreman.
I love Chuba Hubbard. Just for his name alone, I always loved it. I
I love
love
his name
Hurts
too.
coming out of college.
I love his name too. But this isn't Star Wars, and he
Even
doesn't.
coming out of college, he was good. No, first
Yeah.
off, Miles Sanders is gonna get lucky if he hits 800 rushing yards this season. Do you understand me?
Oh my
Lucky.
God, I will take the
Okay.
over on that all day. That is the most.
Holy.
That's the strongest statement you've said tonight that I will place a bet on.
I, I'm starting to understand the name of the show, Manalytics. You're big into analytics, and I'm the man who's going to correct you with the eye test. That's what we're going to do. I've seen a lot of Miles Sanders runs. I watched Philly a lot because I had AJ Brown in a lot of leagues. I had Jalen Hurts in a few. So I watched a lot of Philly games last year. You should know. You live right across the pond. You know, Miles Sanders is is not that hard of a runner. Like I loved him coming out of Penn State. I thought he was the next coming of Saquon personally, and he's not. He's let me down tremendously. He's not a hard runner. He's going from a number one overall offensive line to, like you said, middle of the pack offensive line that has no receivers, has a rookie quarterback, no tight end. They're stacking the box against this kid. He can't really catch the ball out of the backfield that well. He might get 30 catches this season. Who do you think the defense is going to focus on, especially when they go against your sleeper New Orleans defense twice a year? That's going to hurt them, I'm sure. Okay, I can't. There's no way in God's green earth I'm taking Miles Sanders. Now, where you took him wasn't terrible. Don't get me wrong. You took them where there wasn't a lot left to take because who was there? There's Dalvin Cook, who's not on a team, and if he does end up on a team, he's probably getting suspended. J.K. Dobbins, who gets broken when he trips over a glass. Cam Akers, who I hate. Madison, we'll see. Swift, I like probably more than Miles Sanders because he's going to do better than what he did in Philly. So yeah,
DeAndre
I
Swift,
don't
whoa.
disagree.
So DeAndre Swift's going to do better than 1,100 yards or 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns.
He's got the potential to hit 1,000. All right, maybe not
Now,
better than
now
what
he
he did
has the
last season.
potential.
Maybe not
Now
better
he
than
has
what he did
potential. So,
last season.
so Miles Sanders
But he's
last
gonna.
year went
But
for
Swift is
1,200
gonna do.
yards and 11
No, what
touchdowns.
what I meant was the Swift's gonna do better this season in Philly than what Miles Sanders will do in Carolina. Period. That's how I think of it. So there wasn't much potential to draft a running back. I don't disagree with you there, but I'm sorry. If I can stay away from Miles Sanders, especially that Team 7, scares the shit out of me as far as like
They
if you're
should
going to get the
because
number one pick
there's
next.
going to be
No,
so
as
good.
far as getting the number one pick next year, if you were in a dynasty league, that's absolutely terrible. Your top two, you got Tony Pollard, who I don't like already because Dallas's
Stud,
offensive line is
stud,
falling apart, falling
stud.
apart. But still, I'll stick with Pollard. I'm not against that. Miles Sanders, who's going to fall off because he's on an offensive line that he's got no weapons around him and a decent offensive line from the best offensive line. And Dalvin Cook, who you don't even know if he's going to land a team on or not. You don't even know. Jerick McKinnon might be starting for you at some point this season, and I don't even know if he's going to start for Kansas City at all this season. That team is terrible. I'm sorry. It's bad. You got Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, which wasn't terrible. Jalen Hurts wasn't terrible. But after that, it's a shit show. So, nope, sorry. Miles Sanders is a bad sleeper. Stop that. Let him sleep.
He's a
Let him
phenomenal
sleep.
sleeper.
Do not wake him up.
So let's take a look at this. So first of all, like we can't bag on Dalvin Cook for not being on a team because Jonathan Taylor's not looking like he's going to have a team, and
He's on a team.
we weren't operating under those assumptions. Jonathan Taylor's holding
No,
out. He's
no,
not,
no, no. We're operating. No, you're right. We're operating on the assumptions that everybody's on the current team they're on. Dalvin is not on a current team.
he's going to be on a current team, but even if he's not, I'm okay with that because Miles Sanders, he's going to have touchdown regression. Like I don't think he's going to get 11 touchdowns again. I think he's probably 6 to 7. I think he can push for 1,200 yards again, but I think he's going to have a huge uptick in his receiving game for all like. It's not like Miles Sanders can't catch. He just wasn't
David,
asked to catch.
why would I not put 8 people in the box against Miles Sanders? Please tell me why I'm not. Adam Thielen?
Yeah. Have you watched the guy?
Oh,
The dude
Adam
is as
Thielen?
sure-handed as they come.
Oh man,
Like
I can't believe we're having this conversation right now. You were digging at the bottom of this barrel so hardcore when
no
you have to
way.
come up with Adam Thielen. Your saving grace.
Yeah, or you got Jonathan Mingo, stud. DJ Shark? Like, come on! Like these
DJ
are these are
Shark.
these are top tier guys. I mean, you got Terrence Marshall Jr., USC.
Oh man, I
Like
can barely turn DJ Shark into a star on Madden, let alone in real life. Are you kidding me?
dude, DJ Shark is a monster. You don't just get
Oh,
named Shark if you're not a killer. Like you have to earn that last name. And DJ Shark, let me tell you, he's at least
so we
getting
need to
20.
change his last name, is what you're saying. I
Yeah,
got you. I
yeah,
got you.
he's at least getting 26 catches this year. Like the guy,
Oh
the
man,
guy's just, look. I get the box, I get all that, but I'm saying like Miles Sanders is a dog. He's gonna get 1,000 yards because they're gonna feed him, and he's gonna get, my guess is 40 to 50 catches, um, because they have no other offense. Like that,
listen,
like
if he's
that
a
that is the thing. I
dog,
get it, but the Giants didn't
if
have an
he's a
offense a
dog,
couple years ago, and Saquon Barkley still did well.
he's not Saquon Barkley. Don't even put them
You
in the same
whoa, you
category.
just said you yourself
When
thought
he
he was
came
good.
out of college, I
Yeah.
thought he was going to be the next Saquon. I was wrong about that, just so you know. And if he's a dog, Carolina is a shit show. So much, it's basically like raining outside in Carolina. It's raining, and they're just taking that dog and putting him outside and letting him sleep in the rain. That's what they're
I would,
doing.
I would, I would take Miles Sanders over every other running back drafted after him.
I just said that. I said where you got him wasn't terrible. He's still not a
Right.
sleeper.
I think he's a
I
sleeper
would.
because I think that might be a fair argument. Maybe he's appropriately drafted. Uh, that might be a fair argument. Uh,
Yeah,
I-
sleeper is where you get somebody where they're blowing up where you got him at.
he's gonna blow up. He's gonna outperform this draft spot. Like this is what he's the 1, 2, 3,
So he's going to be better than Gibbs, who you were high on,
8,
right?
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He's the 20th running back. He's going to be higher than the 20th running back.
So you think he'll rate top 20 running back?
I think he's going to rate top 15, 18 running backs, yes.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right, we'll end it on that because we're definitely going to disagree on that one all day. Um, I'll tell you who is a good running back, my third sleeper, who I would take over Miles Sanders in a heartbeat, and that's Javonte Williams. I mean, I'm pretty sure you said it earlier today, but Javonte Williams, he went in the 7th round, going into the 8th round. So basically, like I could have flipped him and Pickens honestly and had him in the 8th round. But Javonte Williams, as you said, was going in the top two rounds last year before he got injured. Their offense has changed. Nathaniel Hackett was absolutely atrocious. He destroyed that team. Um, sorry, Aaron, I'll keep your coach's name out of my mouth. But Sean Payton, I don't know if you saw the Hard Knocks, but that's what came up. Sorry. But Sean Payton's definitely going to turn that offense back into what it should be because Sean Payton's an offensive guru, and he's gonna get Russell Wilson back to manageable. He's not going to make him great, but he's going to make him manageable. But Javonte Williams is basically all they have. Last time I checked, they haven't added to the depth chart that I'm not aware of. Oh yeah, they added
Right.
Samaje P. Ryan. Congratulations.
Stud.
He's not taking over a team. No, please don't call him a star. Come on. Javonte Williams is the bell cow of that offense. He's not in a timeshare with P. Ryan. P. Ryan maybe spell him a little bit when he needs some Gatorade. But other than that, Javonte Williams, he was a stud 2 seasons ago. Oh, hold on. God, I wish I wrote down the stats. His yards per carry and yards per catch were top tier in both sections. So he's not only going to be a good runner, he's going to
Oh,
catch the
who's
ball
who's
in the
who's Mr.
backfield.
Analytics now?
I watched him play. I know what he's capable of. He screwed me one night. I lost on a Monday Night Football
Oh,
game where
pause.
all he did was catch the damn ball. So yeah, I think he's going to be solid. PPR especially, he's going to be big in that aspect. Like he might not hit 1,000 rushing, maybe he'll hit 1,000 rushing, but he's going to put up 400 to 500 in receiving as well. And he's going to get like 40 to 50 catches. I think he's going to do phenomenal. And to get him where I got him in the 7th going into the 8th, that's just out of this world. He'll be better than Miles Sanders for sure. Honestly, I even regret not taking him before J.K. Dobbins, but Dobbins is being drafted higher, so it was good to get both of them. but he's definitely better than Miles Sanders. He's definitely going to be better than Dalvin Cook. He's going to be better than Cam Akers, Madison. Like he's gonna be a top 15 back.
Yeah, so I'm not here to argue sleeper picks, because they're whatever. But I
That's the
agree.
segment.
Like no. Williams is a fantastic sleeper pick. You're 100% right. Like this is the guy. He's the guy that you want as a sleeper, like somebody coming off of an injury that people forget how good he
Yep.
was before the injury. He's 100% that guy. Again, as we both mentioned, like he was going in the second round last year because he's that good. Like you said, Samaje Perine, like nice running back. Don't get me wrong, but if he was that good, he would have taken more out of Joe Mixon's plate. Not that Joe Mixon's bad, but he would have gotten more work. Yeah, I agree. Like Javonte Williams, he was out of UNC. There was another back out of UNC that was drafted before him. It might have been Brees
Michael
Hall.
Carter.
Oh, Michael Carter. Michael Carter. Yeah. It was Michael Carter, and everyone was saying that.
I like Carter too, but
I like Carter. I liked Carter until last year. I don't know what the hell happened last year. Yeah, but Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. Actually, I think Javonte Williams was drafted first. But yeah, at UNC, like the dude's a stud. I don't mean this in a slight, but he'll probably be the best running back on your team. That's not to diminish the Walker pick, which we already talked about, or the Dobbins pick. It's more so to pump up the Williams pick.
I had it when I was going to mention sleepers. I was actually going to mention Javonte Williams and Rashad Penny to combine them. But I really like Williams that much. We already talked about Penny a little bit. But honestly, yeah, it wouldn't hurt me if Walker and Dobbins went down and I had to deal with Williams and Penny as my starters. Doesn't hurt me that much. I'm still okay with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think my guess, obviously injuries and all that, but I think at the end of the year, those might be. I think it'll probably still be Williams and Walker. Just because
Yeah.
Charbonnet's a wild card, but I think Williams will probably be your number one your RB1 on that team. So I agree. It's a fantastic sleeper pick for that team. It's a fantastic sleeper pick overall in the 7th round. So for those watching, if you're in the 7th round and Javonte Williams is on the board, snag him. If he's in the 6th round, snag him because I agree. Like it's a better pick than Cook.
Looking back at it right now, looking right back at it, if you knew what you knew now, and you're at that pick, would you take Williams instead of James Cook again?
Williams instead of James Cook. Yeah, I would take Williams.
You took James Cook right before Javonte Williams.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would take Javonte. I thought Javonte would slip a little bit. Like I thought probably like 2 or 3 rounds. I thought just because he was coming off an injury. But if I'm being honest, I would take Javonte Williams over. I'll take him over Miles Sanders. I would take him over Dalvin Cook. I would take him over Cam Akers. Madison's a toss up just because Madison's guaranteed work. I know I'm not high on Madison, but I'm just talking like overall now.
What's not guaranteed with Javonte?
Yeah, I know, but
yeah, they're both guaranteed work. They're both the starters for sure, clear cut.
Yeah, but Javonte, like it might take him a couple weeks to come back to form. I don't know. So like, I would take him over Miles Sanders. I would take him over Dalvin Cook. I would take him over Cam Akers. I would take him over J.K. Dobbins, like you took. If I'm just focused on my picks, so let me just talk about I guess let me just talk. I would Cook, Sanders, and Akers are no doubters to me over who I would take them over. You could argue Madison. I wouldn't subscribe to it. But yeah, I'm comfortable with saying those 3.
Yeah, because I like Williams over those guys. The only reason why we let him slip, obviously, like you said, he's coming off an injury. We thought we can get him a little bit later. I just got lucky on my pick with that one. But
Not lucky,
yeah,
it's
if
foresight.
he
Like
if
you're
he's
drafting in
if
the
he's
drafting in the 10th spot, so you got to take the guy that you want. Like it's not
yeah,
luck.
well, if he yeah, like you said, if he's lingering in that 7th round, even I'd even be okay with him in the 6th round. If he's lingering around that spot and you're unsure, just go for it. That's what I say personally.
Yeah, if you're here, if you're Fields, Cook, Lawrence, I mean, obviously it depends. Like I'm not saying for these players, but if you're in the middle of the 6th round, like I think he's a safe pick there as opposed to waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention, like I don't know. Overall, doing this draft, I think one thing I noticed is running backs were a lot tougher to find than wide receivers were. I still think there's a
Yep.
lot of quality wide receivers that you can get later on. Like I said, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Addison, I love just like you do. Traylon Burks, we'll see. Even Roche Rice out of Kansas
Yeah.
City. I mean, he's not going to be He's not going to be Tyreek Hill. Like, he's definitely not as fast as Tyreek Hill. He's not even close, but he's still got a lot of upside to him. So I think that'll be a different wrinkle that Kansas City has. So I think he's good. So there's a lot of receivers that you can go and take a fly around towards the end. Even Zay Flowers. I mean, Christian Kirk, Marquise Brown, don't take. But even I'm big on Gabe Davis. I was telling you that before. I wouldn't be surprised if he competed with Stephon Diggs to be the top receiver on that team. But we'll see. That's far fetched, I know. But just remember, if it does happen, just come back to me first.
Yeah, I mean, it
But
might be more of a Chris Godwin's Mike Evans situation than it was last year. Like I'm okay with that.
yeah,
I'm just so let down by him last year that it might be more of like a San Antonio Holmes Mike Wallace split. But
yeah. But to me, there's so many more receivers than there are backs that you can be okay. That I would be okay with going into a season. I'm not okay with going into a season with. Take a look. Charbonnet, Connor, you know, Jamal Williams, David Montgomery was only a handcuff. McKinnon, I think, is going to be a flop. Like we talked about Gibson, Rashad White's not going to have a great season. Even though he's the number one back on the team. There's
no,
just a lot. Yeah,
I agree, and that was like my biggest learning is that like holy shit, like you hear a lot about zero running back strategies, but I like my zero wide receiver strategy a lot better than my zero running back strategy team. Uh, my zero wide receiver strategy team was team 5. My zero running back strategy team was team 3. Um,
yeah,
and I think we both agree that team 5 is a lot better than team 3.
yeah. Right now, looking at the teams, if I had to pick a team to really compete for the title, it would be Team 5. I want to say Team 10. Team 5 and 10 are the two of my favorites, I would say. I'm not a big fan of 1. 2 was okay. 2 was actually pretty. If Bijan hits, which I don't know if he's going to or not, but 2's pretty solid. But yeah, 5 and 10 are probably my 2 favorites if I had to pick.
Yeah.
I think they have the best quality. I think they have a lot of star power throughout the team. Like with 10, I got the tight end and quarterback first and second. With Team 5, you still got quality at both positions. TJ Hawkinson's still great, and Lamar's still great, and you were able to still get Saquon, Henry, and Mixon out of the deal. So I mean, yeah, I think those are 2 of the best teams. I think those are 2 that could meet in the championship. Obviously, it's fantasy; you never know, like matchups that happen. People have bad games. Luck's a big part of fantasy too. But
Yeah,
yeah, those.
I'll throw if Taylor plays a full season, I'll throw team 8 in there. Like I like wide receivers on contract years, which is Higgins, and I I honestly believe that Najee Harris was lingered by an injury all year last year. So I expect a huge bounce back year from him, and then Trevor Lawrence is he's in the argument for a top 5 fantasy season.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love Lawrence. Yeah,
so I think that team could Could surprise. If Cam Akers is good, then Team 3 has a shot. I think Chase will have a big year. I think Lamb will have a big year. I like Olave and the flex on the team. If Akers or Herbert hits, those are big question marks though. Um, and then I'm just a huge fan. Like I think Stevenson could be top 3 this year, so I'm a huge fan of him.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
obviously Justin Jefferson's going to have a great year. Garrett Wilson, we'll see what happens with Tua and Deshaun. But you can make some moves and turn Team 4 into a contender for sure.
If Tua stays healthy, he was the top rated quarterback last year. That's how I look at it. Like
Yeah.
he's got the potential. Let's hope that what is it, judo or taekwondo, whatever he learned. Hopefully that works in him falling on his ass and not getting injured now. But that's why taking Watson wasn't a bad pick either because
Yeah, that was a great stack.
yeah, it's a good I mean I'm not a fan of taking sexual harassment bulldog, but whatever. I did it.
Yeah, I agree with the Tua Deshaun stack.
All right.
I do like my Derek Carr pick a lot too. I thought that was a good pick.
It's not a bad pick. He's got potential. It's good to have in case Lamar goes down for sure, but
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to
point out about one of my teams, but it really doesn't matter. All right, cool. So that's our draft in a nutshell.
yeah, solid first episode. I think we did a great job. I hope you guys learned a lot from it. I know I did. I learned that I'm still owning Dave Brennan, and if he joined a league with me, I'd still win him and beat him. But whatever.
Yeah, it's great. I learned that in PPR, the R doesn't matter. You don't need receptions and draft the guy that has less receptions than the other guy. So I'm excited to learn that. And excited to put that in practice. So I think it was a good first episode. Let us know what picks you like, what picks you don't like. Probably spent a lot of the episodes staring at the draft board. So pick it apart. Let us know. I think we're happy to justify any picks, or as you've seen, we're happy to admit where we're wrong.
One more pick I'm excited about too. I don't know if you saw this one, but just in case Goddard has a bad season, Sam Laporta.
Yeah, I like that one.
I like him. I think he's going to be. Detroit's had some problems with tight ends, like Eric Ebron, Hawkinson had up and down and stuff like that. But if they use him right, I think Laporta could be pretty strong for them. So, but yeah, I'm excited for the season. Hopefully, we'll put some more episodes out these oncoming weeks for any questions you guys have, or get some more pointers and some more info. Yeah, I'm excited, man. Good first episode. Good job, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'll just point out one more thing. I just want to touch on.
No, I wanted the last word. It was bullshit.
No, well, it's.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's something we both agree on. I just think.
Yeah.
People might question it. Is in a lot of mock drafts you see Bijan Robinson going as one of the first running backs off the board. Both Jeff and we did not see him that high. Reason being is he's going to a team that just drafted a running back last year, and Tyler Algier, who, whether you subscribe to them or not, Pro Football Focus rated as the #1 rookie running back, ran for over 1,000 yards. They have Cordell Patterson. This seemed like a luxury pick for a team that couldn't afford a luxury pick.
That's bad.
I mean, I do love their head coach, and he's proven that he can get the most out of a lot of players. But I just wouldn't bank on Bijan Robinson being a top 5 back this year. Top 10, I think, is even a stretch. So just be cautious if you're drafting him. Like, I think, assuming Jonathan Taylor has a team and assuming Josh Jacobs has a team, I think they're both safe bets over Bijan Robinson. I think Derrick Henry as well. Even
I'd
I
go
would say,
Stevenson over Robinson. Yeah.
yeah, I'd go Stevenson over. I'd go ETN over Robinson as well. I might even go Pollard, Harris, and Mixon. That's just me. You can argue those last three. That's fine.
Well,
That's just
I took Robinson where I took him partially because, like you said, like he's projected to go on the first.
yeah.
So
It's not a bad pick. Like I'm
yeah,
not arguing with the pick. Like I'm just saying
yeah.
people might look at this and say, well, why didn't you take him in the first round? Like,
Oh no, I wouldn't dare
yeah,
touch him in the first round. I would regret that dearly for any team that I had on that. Any one of those 5 teams, I wouldn't even have thought. There's no combination that would have happened where I would have taken him first, no matter what. I don't care if 8 running backs went in the first 8 picks, or I mean 8 receivers went any combination at all. There's no way he was going first round for me. So
yeah.
if he goes first round in your draft, thank that person for dropping all the good running backs one pick later.
Yeah. Hopefully you're drafting right behind that person.
Yeah, that would be fantastic because then you get that. So yeah, I agree. So we'll come up with some more content and get you guys ready for fantasy season. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm in 15 leagues right now, so I'm still trying to build it up. So if you got any leagues for me out there, just let me know. I'll gladly join your league. I'm sure Dave's in like 2.
Yeah, I try to keep it simple. I try to focus on just try to focus on a couple leagues. I don't like to have players that I'm also playing against. That's just me. And I feel like focusing on a couple leagues lets me really dive into the details. So
Yeah, quality over quantity. I get it. That's fair. You got me.
however you want to do it is fine too.
That's good.
That's what we're here for. Manalytics. So, check us out. Subscribe if that's what we're doing. I don't know yet.
We'll be on all the platforms we possibly can be on. We'll figure all that part out. But yeah, we look forward to talking to you guys next week. And like I said, send any questions you guys have. You can reach out to us. We'll put the link below. Let you know how you can reach out to us by email, or you can put any comments or questions that you guys have that you think that we want to answer for you. We'll definitely try to help out on the next episode.
Yep, rip us apart on some of these picks. And
you can try.
Yeah, we can try. It's probably the evens team. It's pretty bad, but all right, Manalytics, we out.
All right. Night, fam.
All right. I think
make sure to